A little cough. Oh, I forgot to make my water. Hello, how's your Christmas Eve going? Do you celebrate that? I don't celebrate it the way that most people probably do, but we can talk about that for sure in the live. So how are you doing? Just giving it a moment for people to show up. I'm going to move my little board. I have a little anti-fatigue board, but it's like wobble one, so you can rock back and forth. So it's really great. If you're someone that maybe has ADHD, I suggest a stand-up desk and a wobble board. Wiggle board. Hello, Joanne. Alrighty, I'm going to give us just a minute. Wait to see if some of the regulars that watch are showing up. What we talk about here is true sidereal. We're going to do a check-in energetically. We're getting a lot of snow here today. It is snowing heavier as the day progresses. I've heard different stories, anywhere from 10 to 15 or all the way up to 30 centimeters of snow anticipated. Hello, love. How are you? I am staying in the positive side and saying maybe we're just going to get the 10 to 15 that the other things are saying that we're going to get. Let's hope for that. But I decided to do a Christmas Eve live and talk about a few things. You know me, I like to teach as I go. And right now I've been teaching about true sidereal, Krystic astrology, the Krystic way, embodiment. I talk about all kinds of things like that. And yeah, so we're gonna have a good little live here. It's not necessarily going to be like super long, but it'll be a decent live, probably at least an hour. And then I'm going to suggest that you do whatever you can today to have a really relaxing Christmas Eve. The energy of this time of year is not hustle, hustle, hustle. Okay, so if your body's screaming to just have a break, it's because your body knows that the energy of right now is reflective, it's quiet. Like right now we're getting the snow, right? So it feels very, very, very quiet here, very peaceful. And it's a nice thing. Okay, I'm gonna set my tea down. I'm gonna turn my little heater thing on so it stays warm and all of that. And let's talk about what we're going to talk about when in the way of true sidereal and the energy that we're having today and everything else, all the other good stuff that we're going to talk about. So the sun is still in Sagittarius, who is represented by the archer, whose aim is true. So the archer, the Sagittarius energy. So if you're Sagittarius and maybe you identify as Sagittarius through tropical astrology or traditional mainstream, whichever you want to call it. But what I suggest you do is check out masteringthezodiac.com and do your true sidereal chart so that you see what it is underneath what the living sky was doing at the time of your birth versus traditional and mainstream astrology, which froze the sky about 2,000 years ago. So I don't care what was happening 2,000 years ago with the sky. I want to know what's happening when I was born. I want to know what's happening today. I don't care. I want the truth. And to me, the living sky is the truth. And that's how true sidereal approaches astrology. Now, I call it Krystic astrology as well because I like to remove the distortions that are there. And there's a lot of distortions that have been built into the planets and the signs in mainstream astrology. you'll have those negative things surrounding, like Gemini being two-faced, or someone who is Aries has rage issues, or that's Scorpio's all dark and mysterious. And while there are some elements of truth that they pull from to create those negative connotations, astrology is not meant to be a personality test. It's meant to be a way of looking at the energies and working harmonically with the energies of the celestial bodies and the stars and the moon. And we should be in harmony with the earth as well, right? We should have a harmonious relationship with Mother Gaia. So we also have Mars and Venus that are in the sign of Sagittarius as well. So this is adding into it. When you look at Mars and Venus, that is the divine masculine and the divine feminine energy. It is also Mars representing forward momentum and Venus representing, or, direction, passion. There's a lot that Mars governs. And then you have Venus that governs more of relationships, beauty, your attraction, magnetism, things like that are underneath the energy of Venus. So this is igniting and relationships as well, right? I think I said that, but just making sure Venus governs relationships. So when we have those two both being in the sign of Sagittarius, this is asking for that passion to be aligned with truth, will, and devotion, right? So we want to be in that energy. We have the moon in Capricorn. It's just about to the moon is still in Capricorn. It's just about to transition into Aquarius. It's almost exactly the time when, if I look at the sky above me, it's going to say it's now in Aquarius. I think it's around 19 minutes after. So if we look at 1:20, the moon is then going to be in the sign of Aquarius. So we move from that Capricorn energy, which is the gate of structure. Hello, love. Which is the gate of sacred structure, into the frequency of cosmic liberation, because that's the Aquarius energy. So this is a contrast, and a moment of that sacred contrast, right? The earth holds us in that stillness, and the heavens are calling us to rise. And so we're asking, what inner flame are you tending? What sacred fire refuses to go out? There's something that's burning in you. There's a desire. There's something you want to create. There's a future that you wish for. There's a way that you see yourself, an identity that, you're holding on to, either that's keeping you held in place while you have a dream of another identity, or there's this identity that you long to have that may look different than what you have now. What is it that you are tending to? Because if you're doing the same thing day after day after day after day, you're tending to the existing identity that you have. You're not going to see any change from that. And if you're looking at the identity of the individual that you want to be, and it's not about you becoming somebody that you're not. In the Krystic way, we do not fake it till we make it. This isn't about pretending or performing until you become aligned. This is about you determining alignment and then becoming that which that alignment is. The alignment comes, and then embodiment of the alignment, and then everything flows into that space. I desperately needed that drink. And it's so yummy. I love yummy warm tea. All right, so this is not just Christmas Eve, right? This is a time of realignment. In mainstream life, or the Matrix, however you want to call it, this is Christmas Eve. This is a time when many people have lights up all over their houses. you know, they have a Christmas tree, maybe they have presents under it already, maybe they have little children and they're waiting to put them under the tree tonight, and, you know, pretending to be Santa. Maybe you're an exhausted person from moving an elf around. Who knows? But many people are having that type of, you know, experience of this energy. But that's not really the energy necessarily, right? This is not the holiday of consumerism. And that's what a lot of people are living, is that fast lifestyle, that, you know, consumeristic lifestyle, checking off this huge list of gifts, and that gets bigger every year. This is the holy remembrance of incarnate light. Apparently Cass had to shake his head. He agrees. So this is not the performance of perfection, but the devotion of presence. Not distraction, but dedication. And that's how we create things, right? You create things by being that which you are trying to create. Right? If I want to run a marathon, I have to get off the couch and I have to at least start walking, and then I have to start running, and then I have to start running further and further distances. Like, there's a process. There's something that I have to do to have that, if that's what I want. I've talked about this repeatedly in the last little bit. You have to be clear about the identity that you think you have to have, and does that align with your value system? Is it correct? Right? Sometimes we make assumptions about what we think somebody has to do in order to have those things. You are worthy just being. You don't have to do anything to have any worth or value or to be deserving of anything. We should never be in a situation where, because we haven't traded something for money to give for a house or food or any other essential, like, we should never die because of that. But that's the distorted clown world that we're living in, where, you know, there's everything that we need to survive is out there for free. Everything's out there, but we can't have it because somebody that has a lot of money and a lot of power has told us that we are not free and that we cannot have it. So we pay for it. So the world does not need more doing. It needs more being, right? Right now, we don't need a lot of hustle. This is like sacred presence. Hello, Annette. How are you? When we are present with our energy, when we're present in our alignment, in our embodiment, that's a very significant frequency vibration that we're bringing to the world, right? And you get to remember that you are the living flame. Each one of us is the living flame. We're a fractal of God expressing itself. This is my fractal. You have your fractal. How are you expressing it? So what's the real meaning of the flame? Because the flame is not just passion, right? It's not just a fire that you have for this passion for this thing, right? It is not just fire. It is the sacred reminder that within every soul lives a spark of the eternal flame. That's what the flame is. You have that spark. You're God spark, right? So when we say you are the flame, we do not mean you must burn out. We mean that you are undying, unquenchable, eternal. You just have to remember, right? And we're all part of the remembering. We're all part of the remembering. So the false world thrives on exhaustion, distortion, and performance, right? But the Krystic flame is steady, clear, and anchored in divine truth. Okay. Let today be a day of reclaiming, not pretending to be fine, not following holiday scripts, right? But burning true. So do what aligns with you. If you feel great and you're like, yes, I have a get together with my friends tonight, or I'm getting together with family and I'm really looking forward to this and I'm super excited about it, then by all means do it. But if you do not feel like going to another Christmas party or doing this or doing that, then say no. Say no and do what your energy says that you should be doing today. Right? And every day, by the way. Oh, that was a little bit too much to drink at once. It was hot, hot, hot. So you want to let your flame burn away what no longer serves, illuminate your sacred path, and warm the parts of you that feel forgotten. The flame is not seasonal, it's eternal. Okay, so it's the eternal flame. And we all have to do it, right? I just recently moved away from family again this year, and I can feel that sadness inside just talking about it. I moved away from my family the first time in a few years, like 4 years. So, and it's Christmas time. I don't really celebrate Christmas. And I say I don't really because I still participate with my mom in Christmas and I participate with my grandchildren in Christmas. And, I'll talk to both of my children tomorrow and wish them a Merry Christmas and extend it, outwardly. But I personally, I don't have any decorations up. I don't have a tree up. I'm not doing anything significant. I'm actually going to have a very introspective day. I'm going to spend it just doing what fills my soul with love. But that doesn't mean that I don't feel that sadness rise, because I still have an inner child who spent all that time having Christmases with her family and a lot of trauma around those experiences as well. So that energy is still there. Even, no matter like whatever level you're at, you may be experiencing, it's just the way that you work through it becomes more self-serving. You're actually looking at it where, when I had the wave of emotion today, I just told myself, just allow it, like cry it out, like let it out, no matter what, just let it out. There's nothing wrong with any of the emotions that you're feeling. And, I looked at it and I'm like, this is an opportunity, having it come up. This is an opportunity to transmute it and release it. And that's what you do. You let it look at you and you let it help you. So let it transmute things, because that's what we're supposed to do. So today's guys open a portal of stunning potential, because the Sagittarius Sun, Venus, and Mars is calling you in to walk in beauty, in truth with beauty and boldness. You want to harness both the divine masculine and divine feminine energy and, burn with that truth. We have Capricorn to the Aquarius moon, which is calling us to build sacred structures and then break those old systems. Mercury in Ophiuchus is still asking us, because it's been in Ophiuchus for a while. It transitions on the 30th in the morning into Sagittarius. My live is about a variety of things, but it's really living in harmony with the living sky and how to work with its energy. I talk about living the Krystic way, which is not religious, and it's beyond religion and dogma and all of that stuff. I talk about embodiment, being in alignment, living your truth, right? We don't create anything if we're not taking action on it. I talk about stuff like that. So we want to speak from that wisdom within. And then we also have Neptune in Pisces, which is reminding you that you are dreaming the world into being. And that is a part of it, right? We have to have the vision, but we still have to be taking action on it. So if this is the birth of a new world, it is through you, not through noise and not through effort, but through presence, purity, and fire. And this is the final call of that solstice gate that we've been moving through, right? We had the new moon on the 19th, it's solstice on the 21st, and we're now at the point where the days are beginning to lengthen, right? We've moved beyond that. So you're not here to fit into the old. You're here to build the new earth, and we have to build it by embodying. We have to remember what is real. So sacred love, divine truth, sovereign presence, and the flame that still lives within you, those are real. And then you have to embody that, right? And that's what I talk about next. So as the world sings carols of light and peace, remember this: the light that you carry is not seasonal. It was never meant for just one day a year. You are the living flame and the living remembrance of what the season tried to symbolize. You are the birth of truth, the fire of remembrance, and the one who carries the light forward. So stand in your flame and be the blessing, and let your presence be the miracle. Right? You are sovereign. You are free. Ooh, I had a real nostalgic feeling there for a minute. That was really interesting. Interesting. That was really neat. Like almost like could think about cookies and like I'm not, oh, you know what? I am drying out fruit. Maybe I'm just smelling the fruit. Maybe, but I had that feeling of like cookies for a minute, like a certain type of cookies that get made at a certain time of year. And I was just, it was interesting. So Christmas Eve is not a high energy day for many people. It carries it carries memory, it carries reflection, it's tenderness. As I was saying earlier, sometimes grief. Sometimes there's quiet joy, and often it's a mix of many things at once. And you can imagine if you have relationships that for each of us, we have our truth on this day, right? And for me, I had very challenging Christmases and things like that because we didn't have a lot of money when I was a child. And so being in those spaces meant that there were a lot of really bare Christmases. So it has a different feeling for me than it would have for like my my one partner who had, you know, like luxurious Christmases, like lots and lots and lots. Like it was just wow. And so we had very, very different ideas. And so, of course, we would experience different emotions through this time of year. And, you know, like having somebody who, you know, has lost their parents or family members, they're going to be experiencing different emotions through this time of year as well, right? So, and for many of us, like I said, there's amounts of joy, there's amounts of sorrow. And because it's such a public holiday, many of us remember this energy or remember the emotions or have experiences from those. And it gets ingrained because there's so much light and noise and everything else that's going on around it. So this live is not about amplifying energy. It is about grounding light gently, honestly, and without performance. Okay. So as we gather right now, we have the Sun, Venus, and Mars are in Sagittarius. But with both the Venus and Sagittarius, this is reminding us that truth. It's reminding us of the meaning and what we stand for, right? The moon being in Capricorn in the beginning, which, like I said, it's in Aquarius now, but being in Capricorn this morning, it's in that final moments of those grounding phases. But now, as it switches into that Aquarius energy, it's changing, right? It's taking that energy of the inner foundations that we were slowing down and checking on earlier today, or the boundaries or the responsibilities. And it's asking us to really look at what we're holding steadily. So Christmas Eve can bring up a lot of things that some we don't even have the language for, right? It can bring up family expectations. I know that I've experienced that before, right? Where, you have maybe different levels of affluence throughout your family. So people that have different levels of money, so they may be anticipating larger gifts. If you're doing gift giving and sharing it across, there's all kinds of different, the family expectation of how you behave, the family not willing to let go of an identity that you that you used to have, even though you've not been that person for a very, very long time, right? There's lots of ways that family expectations come up. There's oftentimes unresolved dynamics, because how many families have actually worked through their traumas? I'll wait. I'll wait. And oftentimes they're not. And even for those of us who have done healing, there's oftentimes many, many layers to that healing, right? You might resolve some of it. You might resolve a lot of it, but you might somehow end up stumbling into another layer that needs to be resolved, right? You could be dealing with memories of what was or what never was, right? Like I mentioned earlier, I didn't have very grand Christmases. I had, we lived we were quite impoverished as children. And from that window, there was a lot of loss or a lot of feeling of lack. And sometimes that may revisit you, even though you've dealt with it, right? But it comes back to just see where that layer is at, right? I hope station. There may be pressure to feel grateful or joyful. How many of us have had that, right? It is one of the most when you're getting the gift, right? Someone gives you the gift and you're just like, oh my God, I really hope I like this, because if I don't like this, I have got to come up with a really great expression right away, right? You almost want to just open your presents in silence by yourself in your room and then just come out and be like, thank you for my gifts. I appreciate everything that you got me, and just go back to your room and just be. So there can be that. Many of us have that we've had pressure to feel grateful or joyful. The expectations that Christmas is this joyous time of year and everybody singing Christmas carols and doing that can just, societally pressure us into feeling like we should be in these joyful moods that we're not. Many of us can have a loneliness, and even being in a full room, it doesn't matter if you're around somebody or not. If you're truly experiencing loneliness, you experience loneliness with other people around you, because it has nothing to do with the people necessarily that are around you. It has to do with the quality of the relationships and how you're being met and seen. Right? And if people aren't seeing you and aren't meeting you, or you have no depth of connection, then that loneliness is pervasive, even if you're in a room full of people. There's the quiet weight of responsibility. How many parents got these extensive lists handed to them from their children, and they want so badly to make all their kids' dreams come true, because why? Well, if we go back to memories of what was or was never, maybe we didn't get that. So we want to compensate for what we didn't have. So we overgive to our children and try to fulfill all their wishes. Or because society pushes us to think that we have to give and give and give, or because our children come home with expectations because their friends get and get and get. So now we must compensate too. We must be that as well. That responsibility that's on there. Or, you know, if you have certain dynamics in your home, you might have a woman, you know, the woman or the female in the home feeling very much like she has to do the decorating, she has to do the buying, she has to do the wrapping, she has to do everything to get ready for hosting. And good Lord, that man in the relationship, I mean, he went to work, but so did I, right? Sometimes that happens too, where you also work out of the home and do all of that, right? So there could be some of those weights of responsibility that weigh on you at this time of year. So if anything of that is coming up for you right now, know that there's nothing wrong with you. This is completely normal. You're not failing spiritually, right? When I came back walking up my driveway after unlocking my gate this morning, and I was, you know, emotional, and I allowed myself to just, you know, cry a little bit. I didn't beat myself up and say, oh my God, I thought you were more evolved than that. I thought you were more spiritually together. I'm God. Like, I didn't get on myself at all. I was like, just cry. Just let it out, transmute the energy, like let it go, flow down into the earth and, you know, wash away. It's all right. You know where it's coming up from. You have I've suffered a lot of abandonment wounds through the immense trauma that I experienced as a child and through my, you know, teenage and early years. So dealing with allowing that energy to leave and understanding that Christmas Eve by yourself after having been around family for a while will bring up emotion, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. So you're just being real, right? Yeah. And that's the way that's the Krystic way. The Krystic way is about being real. That's all it is. So just honor that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having grief come up or any of those other emotions. Sometimes it's good to look at where do they stem from and, you know, hold that little kid. What does your little kid want to do today? What would your little kid have loved to have done on Christmas Eve? You know what's really cool? I loved the Christmas Eves when I was a child, and we would get an early Christmas present. So I do a lot of drawing and painting and stuff like that, like especially watercolors. Like it's my absolute love is watercolors. Besides all the other things that I create with writing books and stuff, totally watercolors. I do that all the time. And, you know, I love nature, but I ordered these pens a while ago, and there was this one set of multicolored ones that are supposed to be like calligraphy pens. Well, for some reason, these ones were like, yeah, we'll see you on Christmas Eve, right? But the other stuff came right away. And I'm like, why is those ones going to be until Christmas Eve? And for a moment, I contemplated just not even getting them. But then I was like, you know what, whatever. It's fine. It's fine that they'll come on Christmas Eve. And now I realize that in a way that actually worked out perfectly, because one of the things that I liked as a child were those Christmases where we had enough gifts that my mom would let us open one on Christmas Eve. So we knew that that was a good year. If we got to open a present on Christmas Eve, that meant that we had an okay Christmas at least, right? If we weren't opening presents on Christmas Eve, we knew it was... We were just hoping. We were hoping we were wrong about our assessment, but we usually weren't, right? So it's interesting that I ended up having that. So I get these calligraphy pens that are going to show up today. And of course, we're getting a snowstorm. So I feel bad for the driver coming out this way in this weather. But anyway, hopefully he comes sooner rather than later and beats the bulk of the snow. All right, so The Krystic way is just about being real. It's not asking you to bypass emotion, right? It's not. It's just asking you to remain coherent. Okay. So coherence means allowing what is present, not bypassing it. Look at it, transmute it, right? So transmuting it's going to happen in a couple of different ways. And we want to, beyond allowing what is present, we want to stay in our body, right? I used to disassociate. I probably spent most of my life not feeling my body fully. And a lot of people, and especially people that have experienced SA as children, they will disassociate and sometimes never go back in. They just stay numb, and so that's I keep feeling like now that I mentioned the pens, they're going to pull in the driveway right now. I'm pretty sure my dog's going to let me know, but I have this, like, every time a bird flies by, I'm like, whoop, was that? I'm pretty sure I'll know when he comes anyway. Hi, Connie. How are you, love? Not forcing peace, right? That's another part of being in coherence. You're not forcing, you're not pretending, right? We're not forcing peace. You're not performing, right? You're not pretending to be something that you're not, any of that, right? Isn't that a pretty painting? There's one in the hallway, but it doesn't have the light bars through it. It has just the chandelier on with the background is really nice. I'm doing fantastic. Talking about Christmas, I'm talking about the Krystic way, and true sidereal is part of what I was talking about earlier, but just about embodiment and, like living what is real, right? I think we can see that there's quite a show that's going on right now. And I think that, you can admit that, the birds that are out there that are eating off that plate that I put out there with food, and the snow that's coming down, and, my dog snoring in there. And, for me, that is real. This is real. My plant is real. That stuff's just noise. That's just a show. I don't want to watch that. It's not entertaining anymore. And we also don't abandon ourselves to keep the atmosphere pleasant, right? And how many times did we do that? And that's something that got ingrained in us, many of us very young, right? I was from the generation of, you go and give your uncle so-and-so a hug, and you're like, I don't want to. You go do it. You don't want to embarrass the family, or whatever line got spoken, right? Just do as I say. Just go do it, all right? Depending on, the experience, but oftentimes it was that, right? And meanwhile, I'm like, yeah, but he's handsy and he makes me feel uncomfortable. Yeah, don't listen to that body of yours. You just do as you're told to do, right? And many of us have that in our bodies too. So you're not abandoning yourself anymore to keep the atmosphere pleasant, right? If someone said to me, go and give that person a hug, and I was like, I don't want to, they'd be like, no, you go and you do it. That's customary. I would be like, I don't care what's customary. I don't want to do it, and I'm not doing it. And they would look at me and I would be like, I'm not. Yep. So we learn to disregard what our body's saying, what we're picking up energetically, and betray ourselves. So we have betrayal wounds from ourselves that we have to let go of. You didn't betray yourself because that's what you wanted to do. You were forced into that experience. So now that you know that, you don't have to do anything else. Just whenever emotions come up and it is identified as that coming from that space, just allow it to move through you. When you reconcile it by knowing, right? Self-betrayal is when we do something that's against who we are, against our values, against our morals, when our body says no, and we are forced into doing it anyway, and we allow ourselves into that space. That's where we betray ourselves. We betray ourselves a lot. A lot. We betray ourselves a lot in relationship, right? We'll say we know the relationship is not for us, right? We know it's not for us. It's, say you're in a cycle of breakup, 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 and you're wondering which one's going to be the one that the breakup's actually going to stick. But you're also simultaneously going, somehow this is going to work. Somehow we're going to fix this. Somehow, hope for the future. And we're going to bank it on the change. Instead of accepting it where it is at, you're hoping for the future while living from the past. And it's a messy situation. But we betray ourselves because we know that. There's times that we betray ourselves, like say somebody, when people do those backhanded compliments where they're literally just a dig at you, and like you laugh along with it. That's a very subtle way that you're self-betraying, instead of saying like, so we're insulting people for jokes now. Is that what we're doing here? Right. But people have a hard time speaking like that, right? Many of us are not confident enough to confront somebody. And it's not about being violent or being aggressive or any of that. It's about speaking it calmly, firmly, without any waver, right? Children know that they can get you when they can get you to change your voice, right? When they can get you to change your emotions, right? That they know they've got you. The second they can get a rise out of you, they're like, we've got them. We've got them. We're controlling their emotions. We've got them. We're going to get what we want now. Hello. How are you? We're talking about big stuff today. I wasn't going to go this deep, but then I just get channeling things and it just comes out. I write myself some notes and then I just go with it. It's just, we're on a roll now. We're on a roll. So light that is forced fractures. Okay. That's what you're doing to your light. You're fracturing it. Light that is embodied stabilizes, and that's what we want. And when we stabilize, that's how true light enters the world. Right? So what does it mean to embody light? Because we might be sitting here going, oh my God, I got to be happy all the time. Like I got to be like a little glow bug. Like I got to be shiny or whatever. No, no, it doesn't mean being cheerful. It means being steady. It means being consistent, right? So it means remaining grounded even when emotions move, right? So I can be happy, experiencing that in my body, but being grounded. And then something can happen that I maybe feel frustrated with. When I change from that experience of being, relatively happy into that frustrated space, I don't go from being like this to all of a sudden being like, oh my God, this is ridiculous, right? Like I don't do that. Right? I don't do that. Merry Christmas and have a wonderful, wonderful time, love. I will see you after Christmas because I'm not going to go live tomorrow. Tomorrow is an introspective day for myself. I've made that plan. And I'm not sure if I'm going to go live on the 26th. If I do, it will be a surprise. So the 27th would be the next day. And if that isn't a weekend, it would be Friday, I think. No, the 27th and 20th. I might not see you guys until... I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I'll be here when I'm here. That's that. A day is a day is a day anyway. If I don't, Saturday's Saturday, right? It's just whatever. Yep, that's what I'm doing. Tomorrow it's just me. I told my family I'm going to call them in the morning and have a conversation with them. And then once the conversation's done in the morning, I am not being online. I'm not interacting with my phone. I'm shutting down. I'm going to take my dog possibly for a walk. It depends on how deep the snow is by tomorrow. It was really exhausting walking around my property lately because of how deep the snow is. So this next, if we get 30 centimeters, I'm not going to be able to walk around. I'll just be able to walk down the driveway and back a couple of times. That'll be his exercise. It'll take a little bit of warmth and melting and compressing of the snow to be able to allow me to go back in through the woods again. But anyway, it is what it is. All right. So embodiment is remaining grounded. Okay. Remaining grounded when your emotions move. So this is not having those big reactionary moments. This is, not about like projecting outward. This is not about imploding inward, right? You stay grounded. It's about choosing honesty over performance. So you're not pretending to be something that you're not. If somebody's like, hey, so how do you feel about such and such? You're like, yeah, that's awesome. And you're just like saying what everyone else is saying because you don't want to speak your truth at all, right? So you're just performing at that point. Regulating yourself in mixed company, holding your truth without broadcasting it, and allowing love to be quiet. Love doesn't need to be explosive. Like these things are the mastery stuff, right? You don't have to go around going, this is the truth, this is the truth, this is the truth. You just have to embody it. And that's it. Right? So you just live the truth for you. And the people around you will align to you based on the frequency that you've created through your truth. Right? So you're going to have people around you that are going to be on the same wavelength. And so you're not going to be alone. It's not about raising your frequency and then you elevate to the point where you have no human connections. It's not about that. Their connections may shift, but they're going to resonate so much more deeply and profoundly. And you don't know, your bestie might be someone that's just waiting for that little bit of extra, and she's going to wake up with you and go right along with you. You never know. But that's the mastery, right? It's spiritual maturity. So when you're around people and, like I have my beliefs and my opinions and stuff like that. But if I'm around somebody that doesn't have my beliefs and my opinions, I don't have to broadcast that. I don't have to get into a disagreement. I don't have to do anything. I can just be there. Just be there. Right. And if I'm, dealing with things that are making me feel something in my body, whether it's anxiety or fear or anger, like maybe it's me, I know I've got a lot of tools I can use, and breath work being one of them, to ground myself. That's the mastery, right? That's the maturity. So Capricorn going into Aquarius is, we're beyond that now. We're just right into Aquarius now, because Aquarius is asking, what Capricorn looked at was, what am I responsible for holding steady, and what truth must I anchor in my own life? Aquarius is now asking, how does this truth serve the collective? And how does my embodiment matter beyond me? And I've taught people this for a long time, like your vibration is affecting everything around you, right? So for me, I'm affecting the nature that's in this region. I'm affecting everywhere that I travel. When I go out and around people, they're intermingling with my frequency. I affect my dog. I affect the birds. I affect Mother Gaia in this space. I affect the people that I communicate with and that I transfer information and knowledge to. That's another way that I am sharing my embodiment beyond me and how it's going to affect things further than just where I am. So we're not skipping the first part and just going to the second one and going, well, how is what I'm doing helping everybody else, right? No, you have to be with you first. You have to anchor in your own truth and anchor in your own life before we jump to the next step, which is looking at how does your embodiment matter beyond you, right? You have to have the alignment and the embodiment within you to then look at it beyond you. So we're closing one emotional chapter and stepping into that wider field of awareness. That's what we're doing with this transition between those two moons. And it's teaching us something is essential, and that is that we're not meant to escape responsibility to serve humanity. We're meant to ground our truth first and then let it ripple outward. Okay? Truth, like this is the Krystic way. Truth embodied privately becomes service naturally. Okay? Like I started doing my embodiment doing more of the embodiment stuff last year. And after I stepped into my embodiment, then I stepped into Hugs for Homeless, which is my nonprofit that I now have along with on Sha'Ryah. That just naturally evolved. It didn't feel forced or anything. And even with the embodiment of the information that I have with on Sha'Ryah, as I embodied those truths, I wanted to teach those truths to other people. I wanted to pass that information along. When I did my healing journey with my trauma, the first thing I did was went into helping other people with their trauma, learned some practical tools with calm spaces, how to do breath work. There's tons of things that I did. So this is why I teach embodiment and coherence, right? Because just having the spiritual insights is not going to do it all on its own, right? It's like I used to call them shelf help, is when the book sat on the shelf and you never actually read it, right? You go and buy those books and you're out and you're like, oh, that sounds great. Like say you see Marie Kondo's How to Tidy Your Home. That sounds great. I would love a tidy home. And I've heard this book's fantastic. And then you bring it home and you sit it on your shelf and you never read it. That's shelf help. It's just helping your shelf, right? It's helping your shelf look pretty. It's helping your shelf look distinguished. It's helping your visitors to look at you and think that maybe you read that, so maybe you're more educated or something than what you were, right? And even like just having the insight, it doesn't help you navigate big emotional days like Christmas Eve can be, or things like Mother's Day, Father's Day. Like around holidays, we tend to deal with a lot of emotions, birthdays, right? So that doesn't help us navigate those days, but embodied truth does. So whether you want to join me, you can hang out with me in membership spaces. You could come and hang out with me in the Bridge to Light. Phase 1 is complete and it's just on the website. Phase 2 is available starting January 9th. That's when I'm going to be running that course. It will be run live. So if you want to get taught directly from me, it begins January 9th. Just sign up for a free clarity call to talk about it. That's the best thing, because my site works on sacred reciprocity. I talk about this all the time on my lives and what that means. And it could mean that you have something that I could use or that would help me, or a way in which the energy exchange can be comparative. Right? And that's all that I'm looking for. So maybe you don't have the entire amount that I'm asking financially, but you have something else that you can give that would support me in some way. And then that's perfect. Right? So we can always talk and see what kind of things that they are. And you'd be surprised. Sometimes you think you don't have a lot to offer, but you get into a conversation and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot I do these things, or I have this connection, or I da 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 da. And next thing you know, away we go. So it's just, we're just meant to live the truth, right? We're meant to live the truth. It doesn't have to be hard or a struggle. It doesn't have to be dramatic or chaotic or any of that. If it's something like, let's say, in your heart of hearts that the food that you're eating is not the right food because you're eating a lot of processed stuff that really was made in factories and never actually saw the light of day. And you're like, yeah, I know I shouldn't be eating that stuff. Or, maybe every day you're stopping at McDonald's for lunch and you're eating it. And you're like, yeah, I've heard the stuff that Putin's saying about it. So should I really be eating it? But you're eating it anyway. Like, just make those changes one at a time. Change those things, right? You don't have to do everything all at once, right? You make changes that you can adhere to and align to you, right? Because that's the worst thing that you can be, is out of alignment. If you're eating something or engaging in some behavior and the whole time that you're doing it, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe you're still doing this. Or, I can't believe you're eating this. I can't believe, if you're in that energy where you're beating yourself up for the actions, clean that up quick. Either get right with being okay with doing what you're doing, or get rid of that action, because that is causing a lot of chaos inside of you. And that's worse than most things. Okay. So it's about living truthfully. It's about living honestly, gently, and sustainably, right? That's how we should be looking at living. How can I live in harmony with the land around me, with the earth, in a way that's gentle, that's honest, and that's sustainable? How can I have a relationship with you that is gentle, honest, and sustainable? Now, gentle doesn't mean that the honesty has to align with that as well, right? We're not pushovers just because it's gentle. Right? So wherever you are, place a hand on your heart, and then the other one on your lower belly. Okay, so on your abdomen, it's your hara, it's your womb space, it's your sacral, or just the lower abdomen. Now, we're going to take a nice slow breath in through the nose, deep into the tummy, all the way up into the chest, and then we're going to exhale through the mouth, nice and slow. Okay, you can take 3 of these breaths back to back if you would like. What we want to do is get the noise out of the brain, right? We want to get ourselves into our heart space. We want to slow ourselves down, right? So you want to focus on the space that comes up as you're exhaling, nice and slow, and just kind of fall into that a little bit. And then we're gonna proceed from there. Okay, so nice breath in. Last one. Now that you've connected to your heart and silenced your mind a bit, we're going to ask some questions. What is real for you right now? What do you need to honor? Even phrase it in the sense of, what do I need to honor? Where can I soften? And then, what truth wants gentleness tonight? Now we're just going to breathe. You can deepen it and lengthen it again if you feel yourself rising, or noise or chatter in your mind. Now you're going to say quietly, I allow myself to be exactly as I am. I do not need to perform light. I am held. Whenever you're ready, you can come back, open your eyes. So with the moon being in Aquarius, you may have felt that shift in energy. It happened around a half an hour ago. You may feel this lift in the energy because we're moving from that earth, that grounded, really stable energy of Capricorn into the air energy of that beautiful Aquarius, right? And if anyone is expansive energy in that way, it would be Aquarius, right? It's a widening of energy or a sense of like breath returning. This is the movement from that responsibility of Capricorn into shared humanity. And there's nothing to force. It's just awareness. That's all. We're just being aware of this. So if any of this information is resonating with you, you can connect to my website. It's linked in my bio, and you can come and work with me in a different capacity at some point. That's available. That is available. So we're going to talk a little bit more about Christmas Eve, and so that no matter where you are, I just want you to soften your shoulders, and I want you to let your breath slow. If you came in after we just did that activity, that's all I want you to do is just allow yourself to just soften and allow your breath to slow. You can always check on where you are within your nervous system using checking in on your stomach. And if your stomach's really tight, then you're holding yourself in one way or another. So it could be your nervous system is holding you because it's engaged, or you're tightening up your abdomen and holding it in because, you're performing. You don't want anyone to see, like you're trying to tighten up your tummy and look better, right? Sometimes it's a vanity thing. So just allow yourself to relax and soften, because Christmas Eve is not loud by nature. It's a quiet gate, because even beneath all the noise of the world, the field is listening. Okay, we don't have to be loud. The nature of Christmas Eve. So the night of Christmas Eve has always been about waiting, but we weren't waiting for something that was outside of ourselves. We were waiting for what is already present. Historically, Christmas Eve was a vigil, a holding of light through darkness, a moment of stillness before birth. Not performance, not certainty, just presence. Light is not given, it is remembered. So in the Krystic teachings, light is not something bestowed upon humanity. It's something that humanity forgot how to trust. The original story was never about a savior arriving from the outside. It was the remembrance of what it means to be human in alignment with Source. Embodied, compassionate, and responsible for the light that one carries. Christmas Eve is a reminder of that responsibility. So tonight, I invite you not to fix anything. I just want you to ask yourself a few questions. So ask yourself, what feels tender in me right now? Okay. What feels tender in me right now? What feels quiet but true? What feels quiet but true? And what part of me is asking to be held, not improved? Okay? Not improved, just held. Just accept it. Okay? And you're going to let your body answer, because light integrates through gentleness, not force. We don't force it. We don't fake it till we make it. We don't do those things here. We don't perform. We are. We embody. Yum, 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 yum. So if tonight brings grief, distance, or dissonance, you're not wrong. We talked about all those different things that could be coming up, all of those emotions and things that we're experiencing because of the energy that we're under and because of our experiences, right? Our lived experiences. But many sensitive beings really feel the contrast more sharply, right? So just remember, you also have your nature. And for those of us that are sensitive, you're going to feel things more than someone who's not sensitive, right? So, and there's no failure in that. There's no failure in that. We love the sensitive hearts, right? Christmas Eve is amplifying what is real, and truth does not always look festive, is the unfortunate part. It looks honest, right? It does. It looks honest. So on Sha'Ryah, pathway of ascension exists for those who are done pretending, for those who want spirituality that can live inside a human life, inside relationships, inside grief and joy and responsibility and choice, because we do not escape the world. We learn how to carry light within it. You're never alone. First law of the Krystic, the first law that Yeshua taught, the first law of his 44 sacred teachings was that of unity consciousness. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a journey in finding that you are enough and that you are whole and you are complete and that you are not broken. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right? And that is the work. That's the path that we're on, is learning not to escape the world, but to carry it. Yeah. Many of us chose those pathways, those incarnations. Yeah. I'm happy to hear that. Very happy to hear that. Nice. So if this space, stay connected. Just stay connected if you're resonating with the stuff that I'm talking about, or if this feels kind of like you're at home or you're hanging out with, information that aligns to you, that doesn't seem like, so stick around. There are different ways that you can go deeper, right? We do have our membership, like I have my membership groups. I'm the one that's doing all of the content. Everything that you see that's created on my site, I create it. I do work with AI to generate photos. I'll feed it the information and get it to create photos to shorten my time a little bit. sometimes, but it's not always helpful. But I do generate all the stuff that I have. So I have books and I have classes, I have mini courses, I have membership groups, I have soul alignment sessions, and like on and on and on. But that's me. It's me. So what I want you to do on this Christmas Eve is I want you to remember that light was never lost. Okay. It has simply been waiting for honesty, embodiment, and care. Okay, so you just have to be honest with yourself. There's nothing wrong with any way that you are perfect and whole just the way you are, deserving and worthy and all of that. Your lack of ability to know that or to live that as a truth has nothing to do with you. It has to do with that when you were a little wee thing, instead of getting taught that, you got taught something different. And it happened more than likely before you were 7 years old, because in that first 0 to 7 years, you're forming the foundation of your security, your framework, how safe you feel in the world, how certain you feel in who you are, how you manage emotions, your emotional maturity period. So I hope that you're gently held tonight and Yep. But think how powerful you become when you heal all of that. I have to put more sunflower seeds outside. The plate is covered in snow. It's covered in snow. So today's not about becoming brighter. Okay. You will be. If you need any help, you know where I am. Like I said, I don't know exactly when I'm going to go live next. Tomorrow, I plan to have a very introspective, I want to limit electronics tomorrow completely. I'm going to, do whatever I'm going to do first thing in the morning. And then after that, it's just turning them off and spending that time. I'm not sure if I'll be back on Boxing Day or or when exactly, but definitely not Christmas Day. But you will see me, and in the new year, I will be doing 2 days per week of lives on this channel. There'll be Tuesdays and Thursday. I will probably set them anywhere between 1 p.m. Mountain or 2 p.m. Mountain, somewhere in there. Whatever the time is, I'll make it a concrete time. I will show up on time, so it'll be consistent. You'll know where to find me. You can show up at that point in time and watch. But we'll figure out what time works really well. And otherwise, go and check out my stuff. I did just have 2 new books that published on the 21st. Tiana and the Phoenix Who Refused to Burn, and Infinite Wonders, The Universe Has No End. These are children's book, but also would definitely appeal to anyone who's on the spiritual path. It makes books 18 and 19 that I have published at this point in time. So go check them out. They are available. Not the last 2. The last 2 I have to get up on my website, available as an ebook, but all of the other books that I have are available on there, including one special one that is not available anywhere else but on my website, and that is the Divergent Code. It's only available as an ebook purchase on Sha'Ryah. So you can go check all of those things out, or join the Temple of Light, which is a completely free group. I post lots of additional content there, and deepened stuff as well, deepened education or knowledge stuff. And it also is a way for you to keep connected to me in the event that anything happens with social media at any point in time. All of my social links are there for the other socials. And like I said, if you join the free group, you get all those extras, plus you stay connected to me no matter what. But that's it. I do hope that in whatever time, in whatever way, however that that you are celebrating or not celebrating. I hope that you have a wonderful Christmas day. And I hope that if those emotions are coming up, that like we talked about, that you're just being compassionate and kind and gentle with them and move through them, because there are a lot of different energies at play in the next couple of days. History, right? All right. I love you guys. Have a wonderful night. I am going to see you guys later, and have a thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for all the gifts. Thank you for everything. Love you, Pankush. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you guys after Christmas. Mwah.